Hey guys, welcome to another video regarding Python and some of the tools or some of the things that we can do with Python. In this video, we're going to be going over for loops and what for loops do. A lot of people have asked me in the past, what is the difference between a while loop and a for loop? And I'm doing two separate videos, one on while loops, one on for loops, and you'll be able to see kind of the difference and how they work. First, I have like a visual representation. Let me go ahead and get out a full screen here, and then we're going to go over to paint.net. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but paint.net is a really cool little, it's kind of like Paint, but a little bit better. So this is kind of a list. This is a list of items. I think this is very familiar to you guys. If you've worked enough with Python, we have a list of items. That is 22, 80, 7, 46, and 3. So what we want to do is to print out every single value in this list. And you may be asking me, well, Pierce, why don't we go ahead and just print out the list? Why don't I just type in, and for the sake of example, we're going to just call this the list variable, right? So this is all pseudocode anyways. So this is a list. Well, why don't I just type in print, and then in here we just type in list? Well, that's not quite the print that I'm looking for, right? What we're actually looking for is to print out every single item individually. That's what I'm actually asking. Is I would like for each of these items to be printed out individually. If we just print out the list, then we're going to get the brackets, we're going to get the commas, and you're going to have to do this extra work to clean it all up. So this is what I say would be efficient, is having a for loop to actually go through each of the items in the list and print them out. So the way that a for loop works is you type in, I'm going to kind of put this in code up here. So for every item, this is how you would say it in English. So for every item in the list, that's an S, and then colon, and then do a bunch of code. That's basically it. So for every item in the list, we want to print. So we're going to go ahead and type in text print. And then we want to print the item. So you're probably asking me, well, how in the world does this make sense? This just doesn't make sense to me. The concept doesn't make sense of the for loop. So the idea is for every item in the list, I want to do this segment of code. So everything that's tabbed over once underneath the for loop is going to be done. So if I wanted to add, if I did item equals item plus 2, or if we did item plus or equal 1, or plus or equal 2, and we just decided to change all these values and add numbers, we can do that. And it's possible with this for loop. So what's cool is this for loop says 22, 80, 7, 46, and 3, right? Well, what this code is going to do is it's going to say, okay, 22, we're going to print out 22, and then we're going to have a new line. And then we're going to go to 80, and then we're going to go to 7, and it's going to keep on going down the list until every single item has been printed. So it starts at index 0. If you aren't familiar with the lists, this is how you would do it with the lists. I'll show you how to do it with numbers in a moment. But the idea is here where you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It starts at index 0 and it says, okay, first item is 22. What's the code we're going to do to it? We're going to print it out. So we go ahead and print out 22, right? 22. And then we're going to go to the next item. And then it's 80. And remember, you don't have to think about this other than you just need to worry about the first instance of this item. All of your code, you don't need to worry about it going through every single item because the computer does that for you. It says for every item in the list, I want you to print. So we have 80 here, right? And then we have the number 7. So it went from 80 to 7 to 46 to 3. And you get the idea, right? So it's going to go ahead and print out 46. And it's going to point out 3. All right, so that's kind of the starting point. Now what we want to do is to actually get into the code portion of this. So let's go ahead and actually run some of the code. So we have a for loop, and I'm going to make a list. We're going to call it the num list, right? And we're going to have a bunch of numbers. We're going to have 22, 47, 88, 3, 90, and 100. So this is our number list, and all it is a bunch of integers. We have 22, 47, 88, 3, 90, and 100. And remember, you can do this with strings as well. I'll make one so I can demonstrate something later. And let's just say it's Pierce, and then Python, and pancakes. Why not? Oh. There we go. So we got 3 items in this little list, right? So if I want to write a for loop that prints out each of these items, we're going to do exactly what we did before. So you have the keyword for, and you type in whatever variable you'd like. It doesn't matter what it is. Typically, programmers will do I if it's just a quick for loop to iterate through something completely random. In this case, I'm just going to do num for every number in our num list. I want to print out the number. So if I go ahead and I actually run this code, you'll notice I'm going to go ahead and run the Python. We're going to run Python here. And then we press run. As you can see, we got 22, 47, 88, 3, 90, and 100. And all of that was printed out on a separate line. And even if I wanted to actually, I may not have demonstrated this in previous videos, but if we wanted to change the end line, what we can do, if we wanted to put it all on one line, we could print it just like this. And we got a space after each one. You can even see the space at the end on the 100. So that's pretty easy, right? You can do the same thing with the string list. And just to show you that it doesn't, the name of this variable does not matter. You can name it whatever you want. So I'm going to keep it the same. And all that changed was the list that we're going through. So now it says Pierce, Python, and pancakes, right? I'm going to run this. Name str list is not defined. That's odd. Let's do string list. String list. Let's call it that instead. There we go. It didn't have like a name for it. So here's Pierce, Python, and pancakes. So it's all on one line, and it printed out all the strings. So you can do this with floats. You could do this with you could do it with lists inside of lists. We won't get into that today. You can do it with dictionaries. You can do it with other things. It's really neat. I find this very fascinating, to be honest with you. Just the idea that you can do this and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about the code. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just a little bit here. But one of the things that you can do is not just print things out. You can do a lot more than that. So what we can do is I can say, okay, I want to find an item inside of the list that I want to find the number 3 in num list. So what I'm gonna say is for every item. So I'm gonna type in, or actually we'll do for every num in num list. Again, remember that first variable doesn't matter. For num in num list, if num equals 3, print I found the number 3. So you can see that we have the for loop here that says for num in num list. If the number is equal to 3, print out I found the number 3. So let's go ahead and run it. And as you can see, it said I found the number 3, and that's just printing. But what if we wanted to add, we wanted to actually change some things up with this? That's just an example. We can do conditional statements underneath this for loop is what I was trying to show here. So you don't just have to print things out, but what we're going to do now is add 5 to every single one of the numbers in this list using a for loop. So we know what the list looks like right here, right? So we don't really need to do much. I'll just print it out just for the sake of being able to see it in the console. And then what I'm going to do is num plus or equal. Plus equal is an easy way of being able to add to a number. So for example, number will be added 5. So I'm going to add 5 to the number. And remember, number represents every single one of these items in the list, right? So I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then what I'm going to do is after the for loop, I'm going to print num list. We're going to see what it looks like. So let's go ahead and run this. And if we look at the bottom here, well, hold up. I got to get the whole thing all situated. Whoop. Huh, that's very odd. Print num list for num and num list. Here, let me try this instead. Num plus 5. Ah, you know why? So instead, let me make sure I'm doing this right. For num and num list, you have num list, and then it's for every number. Well, what should happen is it just does the same thing. But if we print, if we actually end up printing num, it should change every time. Yeah, so you can see here that we have the original list, and then we have all these numbers being added. I guess we would have to make a new list. So let's go ahead and make a new list then. Updated list. And then we do equal, and then empty brackets. And then what we'll do instead is do, let's try updated list dot append, which is how you add, and you can see it said add an object. Well, I'll just add num to it, and then we're going to print out the updated list instead. So let's print the updated list. I know the reason why it didn't update, but we won't get into that right now. I just want to demonstrate that you can do things with a list. So what we're doing inside of this for loop right now is we're taking the number list. So for every number in number list, what we're trying to do is we're saying, okay, for every number in the list, we want to take that number, and then we're going to add 5 to it. And then what we want to do is to this new list that we created called updated list, we're going to append or add number list to the list. And then we're going to print out the updated list. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like now. If I run it, you can see that now we added 5 to every single one of these numbers. This is the original. You can see this is where the print statement was. First print statement. This is the second one. So that's kind of a short rundown on how for loops work. You kind of have to fiddle around with these to kind of fully grasp how they work. I hope that the diagram at the beginning was helpful in some way. I hope that explanation was able to help you on your journey to learning Python and learning programming languages. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you need any help in the comments, um, or you need any help, just send me a message in the comments, or put out a comment reaching out to the community and other people that have seen this video. I guarantee somebody is willing to help you. And again, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.